Hi and welcome to A World of Words. I'm Vanessa and today I'm going to be telling you all about my experience meeting Richelle Mead. So I was able to go to Richelle Mead's book launch on April 5th for her new series, The Glittering Court, and I filmed some of her presentation and everything, so I thought I would share it with you in case any of you didn't get a chance to go. Then you could still see her presentation and Q&A and everything like that. This was my first time meeting Richelle Mead, and she was really nice. It was really amazing, and I really didn't film that much or really anything aside from her talk and her Q&A and stuff because I was hanging out with my sister and our friend the whole time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you the talk and Q&A, and afterwards I'll talk a little bit more about it and show you the books that I got signed.
Glittering Court just came out today. It's a brand new series. No vampires of any kind. We can still talk about vampires tonight. It's cool. But it's set in this imaginary world that I created that is supposed to have some parallels to early America and Elizabethan England. So you'll see some things that may look familiar if you know your history. It's not like I went skimpy on the plot, like, oh, I can't think of it, so I'll just import this. It's by design to kind of look like that. And the premise is that there is this kind of school/business where girls of humble backgrounds can go and get kind of polished up, learn some culture, how to dress and how to act, and then are sent across the sea to this new world in the hopes of finding respectable husbands, which is actually not entirely something made up. I made it up and thought I was being original, but apparently they did try this in the early US, and then later with the Western expansion there were lots of companies that were trying to ship wives around. So I didn't know that when I wrote this. And because things never go quite as they should, these girls end up breaking a lot of rules, and there's some spies and some pirates and some other things. So I had a lot of fun with this because I feel like sometimes when you see a book like this with a really pretty cover and a girl in a dress, people think, oh, she's just this lame, weak heroine. Sometimes I feel people think the only way a woman can be tough is if she's wearing leather and beating up people. And I'm all about that because we all love Rose Hathaway. But I think in the real world, most of us are strong through our convictions and our relationships, and loving or having friends is not a weakness. And so I wanted to kind of show that in this book, that, hey, you can be all kinds of a strong woman. So that is my little thing about the book, if you don't know much about it. And like I said, I'll open up to questions. We got a nice little chunk of time, and you can ask about anything. If you want to, we can totally talk about Vampire Academy, the other series. We can talk about, like, your favorite CW programming. Like I'm very concerned about what's happening on the 100 right now. We can talk about that too. Anything, it's up to you. Go ahead.
So what was the most interesting thing you discovered when you were researching for this series?
For this series, for the Glittering Court? The most interesting thing was, like what I said to you, the coincidence that someone had actually tried this before to kind of bring wives from England, because in the early American colonies, it was like a 3-to-1. It was crazy, the ratio of men to women, and so they really, really wanted wives. And in my world, they kind of have, it's not exactly an auction system, but these girls come out and go to parties, and then men who are interested can make offers. In actual history, like, they would set weird prices. Like, if you wanted to marry this girl, it was like a bushel of tobacco and other weird, like, New World goods. So that was one of the most surprising things I found in this. Yeah.
Can you talk about the future of the Age of X series?
The future of the Age of X series. The future. I see what you did there. Age of X is it's kind of in limbo right now. There is a third book, so don't worry about that. I'm not sure when it's going to come out. It currently doesn't have a publisher, and so that kind of makes it a problem. And so I feel like I'm most likely going to self-publish it, but then that means that I'm in charge of my own deadlines, which is like, you know, I can work on it, or I can, like, go on Facebook or watch the 100. But in seriousness, also, I am also answering to my business deadlines as well. So it becomes a matter of kind of fitting that in. Not forgotten, not forgotten. I've seen conspiracies on the internet. People are like, I think Richelle wrote herself into a wall and doesn't know what to do with it, and that's why there's no third book. That's not why. I know where it's going, so just hang in there. In the back there?
What advice would you give students who are trying to break into the writing world?
Let me clarify. Are you talking about just writing, like getting that first project done, or breaking into commercial writing? Anything? I'd say there's a few different things I'd say if you want to get into writing. One is to not stress about your topic. I see people who are worried that, oh, this idea is too much like what's out there, or maybe it's not enough like what's out there, or no one will want to do it. Like, just put on your blinders, because if you've got this story you want to write, you just got to go for it. People who try to jump on what's popular, as you've probably seen, like, you know, in the vampire phase and the dystopian phase, when people are trying to do knockoffs, hit shows. So write what you want to write, because it's your passion that's going to drive you. And write a little day, even if you think it's terrible, you wrote one page and you hate it at the end of the day, just keep going, because when you break that stride, it's very hard to get back into it. And even me, where this is my career, I'm guilty of that. If I take a week off, suddenly, like, my story brain has turned off. So keep going with it. You can always fix it later if you hate it. And stick with it, because it's great. Yes?
Where'd you get your inspiration for Vampire Academy?
My inspiration for Vampire Academy, it came from a few different places. When I was in college, I took a class on Slavic mythology and folklore, and it had a unit on vampires. This is a real thing, you guys. This is why you should go to college, because people will give you college credit for this. And it was actually very cool. The vampire unit looked at all the symbolism behind it. Why do people have this fear of the dead coming back? And we learned about how in Romania they kind of had this myth where there were two races of vampires, the living and the dead, and they were actually called the Strigoi and the Moroi. And that was all they had. I mean, there wasn't any of the royal families or anything like that. I invented that, but I liked the idea of these two kind of cultures. And so I just imagined what would they look like in the modern world. And as far as Rose goes, I did want a character who was tough and can hold her own in a fight. Like I said, I've got nothing wrong with that. But I thought it would be neat to show someone who is learning to be that person. Because when we do see those kinds of women in books or in movies, they're full-fledged. They just walk right onto the stage, like we see Black Widow and she's already badass, and I wanted to see, okay, where do they start? What troubles do they go through when they're younger? I saw another hand there. Mm-hmm.
Hi, I love your adult series, Succubus and Dark Swan. Any chance you're going to continue Dark Swan eventually?
Eventually, maybe. That's a sketchier answer. Like Age of X, I can be like, yeah, that's coming someday. Dark Swan is on my I would love to do it list, but I've got to fit it in. Just aside from the Glittering Court deadlines, I have a 2- and a 4-year-old, and so I'm always, there's something always going on, but it's definitely there. I'd like to do it. I liked the artsy, inconclusive ending. I thought it was profound. Other readers found it less profound, and instead, I believe the words are unsatisfying and not finished, were how they described it. So it is something I'd like to do for people, but I couldn't tell you when or if.
How did you name Rosemary? I always pictured you flipping through a baby name book. Is that how that happened?
Well, I actually love baby name books. When I was 10 years old, I saved up my allowance and bought one just because I wanted to read names. And it caused a scandal because people thought my mom was pregnant, and it was just me. I just wanted a baby name book. So I do love names, but actually for my characters, I rarely reference a book unless I need it to be specific to a culture. Like the Russian names, a lot of them I had to actually go after. But for the characters, I'm usually just looking for something that feels right. There's usually not a meaning, I need a name that means strong guardian. It's not like that. It's just, I get it and I'm like, oh, that's it. That's what she's called. Mm-hmm. Yeah. More about Sydney, Adrian, Rose, Dmitry, those guys. Oh, it's kind of like the Dark Swan answer. I would like to. Right now, their stories have kind of wrapped up in my head when I set out to write a series like one of those. I know how book 1 is going to start and how book 6 will end. And so when that wraps up, then that epic has wrapped. And so I would kind of need to make sure I have other things for them to do. I don't just want to keep knocking out books when I really have no idea where they're going. So if I can come up with another good epic plot line, it would be fun to do that. It would also be fun to write about other characters in the Vampire Academy universe. So if I do go back to that, I'm not sure who would get the writing real estate on that so much. My husband and I have a running joke that I'm going to write the young Dmitry Chronicles about Dmitry's early years in Russia. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but that is a common thing spoken about in our household. In the back there.
Can you get an idea of how much of it is planned out? How much do you make up or changes to go?
So how much of the idea is planned? How much is made up? So we'll take a series like Vampire Academy, which is 6 books, and I start off like I know what Rose's initial problems are in the big arc, and I know how it's going to resolve in book 6. And then each book along the way is kind of a stepping stone. So like I know the big endings. I knew how book 2 was going to end, how book 3 was going to end. Oh, I should clarify, don't anyone give those endings away here. I saw someone very concerned on Twitter that they'd be spoiled about the Vampire Academy series, so stay secret about, that stuff. So I know how each book is going to wrap itself up, and then when I sit down to write the book, I do a chapter by chapter summary, and that is usually pretty consistent. I usually stay pretty true to that, but the details of each subsequent book can change, if that makes sense. Like the ending is always going to be the same, but when I'm doing that outline, that's when I think, okay, let's make it happen this way. So most of it is very planned, but there's always room for some inspiration, and that makes it fun. I think it wouldn't be as exciting if I never got to get those bursts of inspiration. Yeah.
In general, how many projects do you work on at once?
How many projects do I work on at once? Right now, I'm just working on one, which is the Glittering Court series. I'm working on book 2 right now, which is the story told from Mira's point of view, if anyone has started the book. Back in the day, I had 4 books come out one year. I don't know if that seems a lot to you, but it is. It's a lot for an author, and it was crazy. I was working on books concurrently. It was before I had kids, before I was married, and it was fine. We got to stay up all night and drink coffee. Let's do it. And so I was just always writing. But for now, both for my own stress level and because I want the kids to get the primary portion of my time, that's why it's down to one book, and that's why I have such nebulous answers for the other things of when are you going to do this, because I'm just kind of juggling my time at the moment. Maybe when they're teens and they don't want to hang out with me anymore, then I'll write more books. But hopefully they'll still want to be with me. Yeah.
Would you ever be tempted to write a book, maybe a YA version of the Georgina world, maybe from Cody's point of view?
Wow, I'm not even sure how to. So would I write a YA version of Georgina's world from Cody's point of view, like when he was a teen?
Around like how he got to be a vampire, because he seems so nice.
He does seem so. He's a nice guy. Most of them are nice, which is ironic since they're servants of hell. But they're good people. They have good hearts. I don't know. I mean, it goes back to I'd love to do it someday. I mean, all of these characters have such interesting backstories to me that in a perfect world I'd be able to explore them all, and it would be great to do his. And it'd be great to do like a buddy matchup of Jerome and Carter having their own kind of thing. I think that'd be fun too. So it's all stuff I would do. Again, just time and place of when it could happen. Okay, a couple more we can do. Where? Up to you. Yeah.
Would you rather be a Moroi or a Dmitry?
A Moroi or a Dmitry? They both have so many problems. I don't know if I'd want to be either one. I kind of like being human. I guess I'd have to go Dmitry since it's the closest to being human. Yeah, with the Moroi, I don't want to deal with the sun or the blood drinking. Really not excited about that. When the Vampire Academy series first started, there was such a huge fixation in the media on vampires because Twilight and some of the others were so big, and they'd ask me like, Richelle, what do you find sexy about blood? And I'm like, whoa, hold on here. I'm like, I write about him, but that's not cool to me. So I'm not sure I would be into the blood-sucking part. Is your hand up?
Yeah. Would you ever write like a novella for Sydney and Adrian?
A novella for Sydney and Adrian? Again, it's kind of like, the question over here, if I would continue it. It'd be fun to get back and see what those guys are doing. It comes down to time again. If you follow me on social media, every once in a while I do something ridiculous with them. I don't know if anyone saw Adrian's New Year's party list. It was like my most liked Facebook post in history. I'm like, man, I just scrawled that up in 60 seconds. I'm glad everyone liked it. So I do try to like jump in with little things like that, but I don't know about anything substantial written yet.
We appreciate it when you do that because like, people that love Adrian like me, we really get excited.
All right, well I'll keep that in mind then. So I like doing the texting too things, like those are always fun, so maybe I'll throw some more of those out. And of course there's the Barbie dolls, the VA action figures, which I forgot to bring on this trip. Sorry if anyone wanted to pose with them. Yeah, I got some questions someone asked me. They're like, are those exact replicas of your characters? And I'm like, I just cobbled them together from like used stores and stuff, and they're close, but they get the job done. Okay, one more, go ahead.
Has your husband read all your books, and do you kind of concur with him about them?
Has my husband read all my books, and do I confer with him about them? He read them all very diligently until our first son was born, and then he didn't have time for reading. So he listens to them on audiobook. And so sometimes there's a delay on when we can get a hold of it. But I got the Glittering Court audiobooks last week, and he took one from me. So we'll see, that's going to be his daycare driving music or, listening right now. As far as conferring, like not when I'm actually writing them, he doesn't usually advise on them. He usually doesn't know what I'm writing. I just go into my office and he installs smoke detectors or does something else around the house, and he assumes it's all just taking care of itself. He will help me if I have like some logic thing, like I'll ask like, okay, if you wanted to do this, what technological, like those kinds of hypotheticals, he'll help me with that. But otherwise, he's just pleasantly surprised. And I'm gonna cut off questions there.
And just like last time, I was really lucky and able to get there super early. The signing wasn't quite as organized as the Stars Above event. I didn't get a specific number. We were arranged into groups, and then we had to line up according to our group, so it was kind of a little bit more confusing that way. And the groups were quite a bit bigger than the Stars Above signing. There were a lot of people there. Again, I got there really early, so I was really close to the front. It didn't take me too long to get my book signed, and we were only allowed to get 3 books signed, including The Glittering Court. Beforehand, I was trying to decide if I just wanted 3 Vampire Academy books signed and then not get The Glittering Court signed. I ended up deciding that since I'm going to the book launch for The Glittering Court, I feel like I should get The Glittering Court signed because it kind of makes sense, and then it's also an extra special souvenir from the event. So I ended up choosing Last Sacrifice because I absolutely love the way she wrapped up this whole series, so I really wanted this one signed. And then I was torn between Spirit Bound and Shadow Kiss, which are my other 2 favorites in the series. Those 3 are my favorite in the series. I love the whole thing, but those 3 are my like top favorites. I ended up choosing to go with Shadow Kiss because it was lighter, and I tested the weight in my backpack, and Spirit Bound, which I also bought in hardcover, was quite a bit heavier. It was in a mall, and me and my sister and our friend were walking around this huge mall as well. I didn't really want to lug a bunch of really heavy books around for hours. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you my signatures. I got to get one of the 3 personalized, and I chose Last Sacrifice because, like I said, if you haven't finished the series yet, it's just amazing. It really just made me love the series even more because everything wrapped up really, really well. There aren't that many series that wrap up quite as well as this one. So this one I got personalized. It says, "To Vanessa, thanks so much for reading, Richelle Mead." So I thought that was really fun. It was a really nice personalization. It's, I think, my favorite personalization that I've ever had. So I'm so happy I've met 2 of my favorite authors now. This one's one of my favorites because the final battle when Rose and Christian are fighting side by side, I love that scene so much. So that like made this one of my other favorites in the series. And so this one is her signature. And Glittering Court is also her signature. I still have my wristband, which was really shiny, so I kept it because it was shiny and I kind of liked it. So this one, I thought this one was kind of cool because the front page is dark, so she signed it in silver, which is really neat. I really like that. So that is really, I think, all I have to say. She was so nice, and I really am so happy that I got a chance to meet her. And oh, I got my picture taken with her, so I'll throw that up. It was really nice, and they let my sister and my friend come and say hi to her as well because they weren't getting anything signed. So yeah, it was really a fun time. I didn't vlog anything else besides the actual talking Q&A again because it was just us hanging out at the mall and eating dinner and catching up. It was a really fun day, but it wasn't really anything spectacularly film worthy. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun, and I just wanted to share that footage in case anybody didn't get to go, or in case they went to a different event with her and they kind of wanted to see how things were maybe different. And I'm gonna stop rambling now because I really have nothing else to say and I'm just kind of like blabbering on and on. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me. I do a whole bunch of different kind of videos. I do event vlogs like this when I go places, or I do book reviews. I'll be doing a review on The Glittering Court very soon. I'm going to film that next. And I also do like funny skit videos, I do book tags, I do drawing tutorials, and I talk about writing. So it's kind of turned into a big mismatch of things on this channel, but it's all about storytelling and kind of art and creativity and stuff like that. Have a wonderful day. Bye!